Well, we think that the impact on the commodity market should be relatively modest and short-lived, and hopefully it proves
That's good news.
Yes, good news, and hopefully it proves that way from a humanitarian perspective as well. Mainly, the impact should be on the demand side for gasoline. So we've seen the uptick in gasoline prices on the East Coast as people are loading up on fuel going into the storm. That will probably abate and stay depressed after the storm as people focus on rebuilding and are not able to drive. Gasoline demand in the Carolinas and Virginia is about 8% of the domestic market, so it's not a major demand center.
But you've got to get the refueling trucks to the gas stations, and if they're not on the roads or the driver of the truck is taking care of his family, there could be short-term supply disruptions.
Yes, short-term, and what we're really looking at there is the Colonial Pipeline, major artery bringing gasoline from the south to the northeast. We're not really so concerned about power outages because that would mainly affect coastal operations. The pipeline is inland, so really what we're concerned about is the flooding, so massive rain, and that could potentially cause short-term disruptions in terms of getting gasoline supplies to the New York harbor.
Pipelines need power to operate, though.
Pipelines need power to operate. The gasoline stations have generators so they can operate even if power does go down. And the pipeline can operate in segments if some parts are damaged and others are not.
I don't want you to necessarily go into the specifics of each power plant, but there's a nuclear power plant, Duke Energy-owned power plant, 4 miles inland in North Carolina. I know a lot of people have expressed concern about the safety of that. What do we think, the macro risk of power in general, in terms of power loss? Can people expect a couple million people likely to be without power for a few days?
That's definitely a possibility. The Carolinas, Virginia, about 5% of the domestic natural gas demand market. The storm is potentially even in the path of natural gas producing regions in Pennsylvania. So that is always a risk as well.
Is it really?
Yeah.
All the way to Pennsylvania?
Potentially, yes. We've got about 5 storms brewing right now in the Atlantic basin, some of which could actually reach the Gulf of Mexico, where there is obviously major refining operations and oil and gas producing regions. So right now it remains to be seen, but a little bit more we're concerned on the demand side than the supply side.
I hate that you're making such a great point because, what is it, Isaac? I mean, there's another storm in the Atlantic, which now people are concerned about in its path. So Florence right now is a massive immediate threat. But I know that commodity forecasters and just people in general are watching these other storms.
Yeah, and the market is jittery right now, especially going into the fourth quarter in November. Sanctions on Iran will come into play, so there'll be less oil on the market. So I think that the market is getting jittery and moving up a bit in anticipation of all of these events coming to a head.